So we are
Okay,
live.
so you're welcome again, Anwuli. It's nice to see you. I remember telling my Destiny Busy Moms in the previous video that I'll be having a discussion with a friend of mine, and just for emphasis, you have been on my channel once. I featured you once, and I'll definitely be linking the video for those who have not heard you before or don't know anything about you. So, and I'll also be putting your bio data in the description so that they can also check out your blog. So if they don't know you, if there's anyone out there that doesn't know Anwuli, she's a blogger, she's an author, and she's a women issues writer and consultant, and she has also contributed to many women issues magazines, and she has written articles. I'll be leaving all that in the link, but today the discussion today is just how we can build for destiny, and we're focusing on how we can come out of our comfort zone, because truth be told, if you want to fulfill destiny, there has to be this time of coming out. There has to be this time of segregation from the crowd. There's this time when you have to discover yourself for yourself, enough of what you've been told by people or what you've grown up with. Whenever I think of this coming out topic, or this thing about coming out of hiding, coming out of your comfort zone, what really comes to mind is that scripture, Abraham, that scripture that talks about how God called Abraham out of his kindred and out of his home country prior to the time he was, feeling comfortable. If I would say, he was in the midst of his family, friends, relatives, folks, and I'm sure he was doing well. But there was this time when God wanted to do something bigger in his life, and he just had to call him out. I know we've had calling out moments in our lives at different points in time. I know that we can all relate to that, but is it really important that we come out? Is it really important that that coming out time has to be there? Like, what's the benefit of you coming out of the crowd, or coming out of where you are so comfortable, where you are feeling like, okay, I have all that it takes, I think I'm good to go. That idea of feeling like a local champion and all that. You feel like you have arrived. But do you think it's important to come out from the crowd before you can fulfill destiny? Please, please just let's know from your own point of view. Do you think it's really important? And what's the benefit? What do I get to derive from coming out of the crowd as regards
Okay,
building for destiny?
okay. First of all, I would like to state that every individual is unique. So coming out of the crowd signifies that you stand out, first of all. And then secondly, not everybody wants to do what it takes to be a success. Everybody just wants to go along. Everybody just wants to do the same thing. Nobody wants to do something unique. And at creation, we find out in the book of Genesis that when God created mankind, He gave us one mandate, the mandate to succeed. That is, even how do I put this now? Which means that if we stay in our comfort zones, if we do nothing, if we don't take the steps to come out of our comfort zones, we are not likely to realize our potential. We are not likely to become the person that God has created us to be. So if God has said we should succeed, that means we have work to do to become that thing he has said us to be, or he has created us to be. So if you do not know that you were created to succeed, or you were created to do more, you will settle in life. I remember before I became before I told this part of helping women unlock their potential or doing anything that has to do with related to women, I remember that I was troubled because the people I saw around me, many women I saw around me, were not actually my age group, maybe perhaps older than me at the time. Many of them were just living a settled life. I couldn't see anyone that was aspiring to be more. You get married, you give birth, you earn income, you just go to work, earn a living, you come back, and that is all, a woman's life is all about. And I felt really unsettled in me. And so, I told someone that I was given an opportunity to speak at a conference. And while I was making my research, I found out that women just get married and get settled. I think this conversation is, about women, building for destiny, really about women. So it's targeted towards women. So many women just, their life ambition is just to get married, have kids, go to work, earn money, and nothing more. But we have to realize that we are created for a specific purpose. And that leads me back to the story of Abraham. Abraham was called to come out of where he was because he had a purpose to fulfill. We're all created for a specific purpose. And that purpose, it's one thing that makes you stand out. That is why I said in the beginning that we are all unique because we all have our purposes to fulfill. Your purpose is different. We may be doing things, that concerns women, but the way God wants you to do yours is definitely different from what God is calling me to do. And that is why they say the sky is, wide enough for all birds to fly because we are all unique in the ways that God has created us and in the purposes which He has called us to fulfill. So the reason for you to stand out is because you were created to succeed first and foremost, because treasures cannot be found, on the surface. You need to work hard. You need to dig deep before you can find treasures. So if you settle down or if you stay in that place, if you don't make any effort to stand out, to come out, there isn't any way you'll be able to realize that potential. Anything left to itself cannot grow, cannot become better, cannot be improved upon. So if you don't come out, if you don't step out, there is no way you are going to realize that potential that you have within you all along.
Mm-hmm.
So Abraham had potential to become the father of many nations, but it wouldn't happen if he had not taken the step. Until he was able to come out of his father's house or his from his how do I put it now, from his native land to the place where God showed him. And God also had to help his imagination by showing him the stars in the sky. Mm-hmm. So if God had not, enabled him to make that visualization, he wouldn't have seen what he was capable of becoming. So if you don't step out, you will not be able to see what you can become. I would like to end this point by saying, talking about the story of a woman called Diana. I wrote about her on my blog, and her story keeps blowing my mind every other day. When she was a little child, she's from Colombia. So her country was, riddled with war. There was so much war in her country at the time she was. I think she was 13 or so at the time. So every night she always she always goes outside and stares at the sky, looking at the stars, and wondering what else can my life be if I'm not in this environment anymore? What else can I do with my life if I'm not here, if I'm not in this environment? And so she made up her mind one day and went to the United States of America. She left her country that was riddled with war and went to the United States of America. She did all manner of menial jobs to put herself through school. And today, that lady is a director in NASA. NASA is an organization for space exploration in the United States. So imagine, I heard Matthew Ashimolowo saying a few days ago that when he visited some parts of northern Nigeria, he saw some people, some young men and some young women, and he was saying to himself, what will become of this person if this person is given, access to education, if this person is given access to exposure? Now imagine what the life of those people can become when they, step out of that place of limitation where they are at the moment. So imagine now if we are given more opportunities. Imagine what we have done with our lives at the moment. So imagine if we are given more opportunities. So if we decide to make the effort to grow, to increase, to improve, imagine what will become of our lives. So that is the importance of stepping out of your comfort zone. It helps you to, become the person of purpose that God has created you to be. That's my first point for now.
Thank you so much. What you said just reminded me of my own stepping out period. Well, stepping out into doing this, Destiny Busy Moms, and how it all started in 2017. So prior
Wow.
to the time I was scared. I would say I was scared. I was scared of what people would say. I was scared of how my parents would feel seeing me on the internet doing all this, because I know the kind of home I came from. We are more conservative and reserved. So, and I remember posting a video at a time, and was it a video, a picture on Facebook with my kids in it? And I know the backlash I got from family and just close folks. Like, how can you be putting your children on social media? What if anything happens? Or what if a woman that has no children sees your children, and that bad eye thing and envy and all that and all that? Aren't you scared of what could happen? So many things were limiting me. I wanted to step out, I wanted to come out, but I was also scared of what the reaction or the response it would bring about from people, especially from family and friends. So I think this is the reason why God brings us out of family, of friends, of our native land, of where people just know us and where we have become comfortable. I think this is the reason, because there could be many hands dragging you back and saying, oh, we know you from Adam, so we know that if you go online or if you do this or if you do that, it of course it's going to look strange to us, and we know that it's not going to be good for you since we know you coming from Adam. Do you understand what I mean? So I think this is the reason why, because there are so many limitations from the home front, from just close relatives, and even more so from ourselves, from the mind. It takes a lot to be able to overcome ourselves in our mind before we can now take that bold step and come out and just I feel that God is actually waiting for us to take that step, and until we do, he can't really tell us much. Even if he does, we are not bold enough to act on it, because we are in the midst of people and we are bothered about what they will say and what they will do and how they will react. So I think this is very, very important. Once we know that it is God's way of getting us to fulfill purpose. That coming out thing, once we know that it's God's way of bringing us out to our world and announcing us to our world, and just making us fulfill this. And I think more of us moms, more of us women will be willing to come out and not just relax and feel okay in our little corner. Another thing I would say is I think I've been able to meet a number of people that I wouldn't have met if I had not stepped out. So that's another thing that we should, consider, the fact that if I had not said I am bullshitting all the voices in my head and all the people that are saying no, 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 and and all that, if I had not said I'm stepping out, maybe I wouldn't have gotten, these kind of relationships that I have with you and with many other people that have come across in the journey of destiny and Destiny Busy Moms, and just so many other things that we set out to do when we eventually are bold enough to come out and, and just allow God use us. Okay, so these are just a few of the benefits and really the importance of coming out. But there might be a mom out there might be a mother, there might be a woman, a young lady, an old woman, just the female. I know we have this thing about discrimination, gender discriminations in this part of the world and all that. And I think that's another issue, another limitation that really just stops us from coming out and fulfilling destiny and doing all that God has called us to do. So I don't know if you have seen instances of these kind of people trying to come out and maybe just not finding a way or not knowing how. And maybe in your own life too, there were particular steps or things that you did to help you come out, because it's going to be very difficult to break that jinx, to come out of the box. I mean, it's not easy. So how do you think you were able to break out of your comfort zone, like practical steps? We would really appreciate that if you have any.
Okay. Before giving that answer, I'd like to say, hold on, sorry, I've forgotten. I'd like to say, I've not actually come out at all, according to God's agenda for my life. Because every
Of course,
day he's
you have started coming out, so so
no,
there is a
no,
starting point.
I felt that I've actually come out because I constantly remind him of the many things I've done to show that I have come out. But I keep getting instruction every day. I don't even know. I'll settle that later. But I just wanted to say that because we may think that we're actually, some people may think they're actually, they've actually stepped out. But in God's agenda, you have not even made any, you have not really done anything in comparison to what He wants you to do. So I really like to make that point out so that we would not start measuring, our achievements in light of another person's, because we don't, like I said earlier, we don't all have the same purposes. Okay, so I was priding myself in the fact that I started a blog. I have articles, people visit my blog. I got speaking somewhere, but that was not God's focus, and I was really surprised when I got that information. So whatever it is you are doing today, it is important that you check in with God from time to time to know what He actually wants you to do. Do you understand? So because
Yeah.
you may think you're actually taking some steps, but he may say those are not the actual steps he wants you to take. So in regards to facing criticisms or discrimination when you want to step out, I had my own fair share of challenges, and this was someone who was very close to me, my husband. When I began writing, I started doing it for free. I did it for free for many years. I started writing in 2015. I did it for free. And in those periods I was writing, I didn't have a job. I know how it feels like when it's only one person that is actually bringing income into the
Yeah.
house. So, and because I had to prove myself that I could do this, because there wasn't, I tried baking, I tried working as a baker, or what they call it, is it caterer or baker? I tried, I found that I was only good with recipes, but I wasn't really good at decorating cakes. So even if I did it and it came out well, it usually took, many hours before it comes out the way it should. I told myself, why should I be wasting my time here when I know I am not competent in this area? And so I found that writing comes natural to me. That does not mean that I don't have other skills that I
Yeah.
can, work upon. I've told myself that a number of times, that when am I going to graduate from this skill to another, or when am I going to acquire more skills? Because we have, many things that we can do. It's not only one thing that we can do throughout our lifetime.
Yeah.
So my husband, sometimes when things get financially rough in the house, and maybe I'm busy making research for a post I have to submit, he will tell me, why should I, he will, you know, he will be because he's under pressure to provide financially, and he needs me to do some certain things, or for me to bring income home at the time, because he was not really, financially buoyant, and I'm busy claiming that I'm a writer, I'm writing, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. The backlash from me was so heavy. There wasn't a time, let me not say that, because this is quite private, but I really had issues, at the time, because somebody told me recently that, nowadays you can get remote jobs online, and there are
Yeah.
things you can do, gigs online to earn money. Somebody told me sometimes she's on her phone trying to get gigs to do online. Her husband will be, shouting at her, because he feels that
Anytime.
scrolling through Facebook, Instagram, and all that, that she's not actually doing anything. And that's how many men feel. When they see their wives on their phone or on their laptop, they feel that they are wasting time. They are doing gossip online. But there are some women who are actually utilizing the tools that technology have provided, to advance their career. Some maybe, reading articles, some maybe, uh, you know, finishing up courses they've enrolled for, and all
Yeah.
that. So they're not just and even if they are scrolling through Facebook, they are reading things that will increase their level of knowledge. It depends on the groups that you belong to online. So I don't think, I mean, in my own case, it was only recently my husband he changed it for me. He told me that, yeah, because he was harsh towards me. That's why I am who I am today. That's what
They still get
that's
to
what
get the glory.
and that's not fair. That's not fair at all. That's not fair. That's not fair at all. So from my own, then sometimes when I shared, I felt that my friends, I will have the support of my friends. When I share my content online, when I share my content to them, I expect that, oh, they should celebrate my achievements or my wins. I don't get any response from them. So I later had to realize that what incites me will not be what
Yeah.
excites them. What excites me will not be what excites them. Okay. So I now realize that you will get more cheerleaders outside, like you said earlier, that the people will know you. They're already used to who you are. They are not used to your growth. They are used to what they
Yeah.
see, every day. So I decided that, okay, because sometimes I want to involve them in what I'm doing, because I'm a women empowerment trainer and all that, doing things around women. I want to involve them. I want to future them. I want them to say something, but they're not cooperating. So I decided to leave them. Let's just be friends. Let's just be friends. You know, Let me not extend what I'm doing towards them. They have their own purposes. They have their own things that they like to do. So I shouldn't force what I am doing on them. So I decided to leave them. So that's another should I call it a push? That was another pushback that I encountered in my own journey. I talked about my husband, I talked about my friends. Even there was a time I reached out to somebody on LinkedIn. I interviewed her on my page, on my Happy Wifey page, and I told her that my friends are dulling me, because I proposed some things for her to do to, increase her reach online, or in line with what she was doing at the time, and she was really impressed. And I felt that, okay, these things were things I could also do for my friends, but because they are not seeing things the way I'm seeing them, or we are not going the same way, let me put it that way,
Yeah.
they did not cooperate. So what were we saying before? Okay, the pushback I experienced in my own journey. So those were the things. And what I want to say is that you would always face criticism. But once your mind is made up to become who you are, determined to become. Because if I had listened to my husband, who was telling me at the time that you are writing for free, well, to what end? How does it benefit you? Blah blah blah. There's one time I was earning peanuts from what I was writing, but I had to talk to myself. I had to tell myself that I can do better. And so I worked on myself to be able to step out of that place. And then I closed my ears to what anybody was saying that was not in line with what I had, envisioned for myself. So even if anybody is telling you, don't settle because there are different forms of gender discrimination. Don't settle because people are criticizing you. Don't settle because your relatives or your people who are very close to you do not see value in what you are doing or do not see any sense in what you are doing. It really doesn't matter if you have made up your mind and if you know this is the path that God has called you on. You really have to keep pushing because nobody will achieve your success for you. You are the only one who will take the steps to achieve what God has called you to do. There is no assistance, nobody. The only thing you can do is you can outsource some things to people to do, but you are the only one that the responsibility lies on to take the steps to become the person of your dreams or the person that God has created you to become.
Thank
Okay,
you
so
so
you
much.
talked about
That's
the
okay. You're still go on, go on.
okay, you talked about the
Go on.
steps that
Yes,
one is supposed to take to come out of their comfort zone so
yes,
they can fulfill
practical steps.
destiny.
Yes.
Practical steps, like I mentioned earlier, be determined. You have to be determined. And then you have to surround yourself with people that inspire you. For example, I really don't have friends around, how do I put it now? I don't have most of my friends don't stay close to me. We only talk, online and all that. But there are benefits of having people close. Face-to-face interaction is way better than having to talk to people online. But try as much as possible to stay around people who inspire you to be more and to do more. The people I follow on Instagram, I really get inspiration from what they are doing. There's a particular lady I know that was selling bags. I think the both of us joined Instagram at the same time. But right now, she is her business has really expanded. And I told myself the day I saw her breakthrough that if she can do this, I can do it as well. So they say one woman's success is an inspiration for another. So if you surround yourself with people that can push you to succeed, they don't have to be close to you physically. You just have to see people that you admire, follow them online. That is why we have, virtual groups. Follow them online, read their stories. It will inspire you, spur you up to action because naturally we all don't want that. We all don't want to work harder. We don't want that push. To grow is pain for any form of growth to take place, you experience pain, you experience discomfort, you experience a number of things that challenges you. Do you understand? But you have to surround yourself, you have to put yourself in that environment that can help you to grow. Recently, I've told myself that I want to be a better communicator. I want to be able to, because most of the things I have to do is in line with being a good communicator, in line with public speaking. So I have told myself the things I'll be able to do. For instance, I would listen to discourses on women issues and politics. I will not just listen to things that has to do with faith, because I've come to realize that every aspect of life, it is God that created them. God isn't only about spirituality. God is everything.
Yes.
God created everything. There is earthly knowledge, there is spiritual knowledge. So it is also God that created those earthly knowledge. So even if we are in pursuit of intellectual achievements, doesn't mean that we have to leave, push our spirituality aside. But in as much as we are, because most of us Christians will focus more on building our spiritual lives than equipping, the intellectual side of us. So I've decided that okay, I'll listen to discourses on these areas, so I'll be able to reach a wider audience. So it won't just be moms who, stay at home moms. I can also reach moms who work in corporate places, or moms who are in businesses. You understand? So I'll be able to reach a wider audience. If I'm not able to, if I'm not articulate, if I'm not able to speak, if I'm not able to buttress my points, if I'm not able to express my ideas, nobody will want to listen to you, because people like people that are knowledgeable, people who can, people who are bold, who are confident. So those are the things I want to equip. Those are the areas I want to equip myself, because I find that I am really not actually doing well in those areas. So I will actually have to equip myself in those areas. And I've also realized that the more you do something, the better you become at it, no matter how little. There's what they call the Kaizen philosophy. 1%, doing something, even if it's just 1% that you have to do, but you continually do it. Yes, you keep doing it every day, every time. You keep getting better. So then what else? Then I think from time to time, like what you're doing now, being enrolled in a postgraduate course, from time to time, once you go back to school to do refresher courses, even if you have gotten to, even if you have a PhD, because my father used to tell me, oh, Anwuli, I've gotten to Z in my education, so I don't have to do any form of education anymore. I'm focusing on you. But I think that we can all, enroll for different kinds of courses to keep our minds working, to help us to become more analytical in our thinking. It helps you to become, it broadens your horizons, it broadens your knowledge base when you enroll yourself in courses from time to time. So I think those are just the basic things you need to do. You need to be determined. You need to surround yourself with people who would spur you to action. You need to everybody have the areas where they want to improve on. You need to go close to that areas. You need to think of the things you can do to equip yourself in that areas, and then from time to time ensure that you enroll yourself in one course or one skill or the other.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. You said a lot. And they are kind of similar to what I had in mind to say too about, these steps to take that could help us, and, basically anyone out there, not only moms. So you said something about, being determined, and that's like the very first thing I would say. It's like you have to do a mind work before you can now see it, physically. You need to be able to tell yourself in your mind that you can do this, that you are capable, that no matter what anyone thinks of you, you can achieve whatever it is that God has said you will achieve, or that you're capable of achieving. So it's just basically you being determined, being just being adamant in your mind to show the world that you have something to offer. And I think that's just the bedrock, because that is going to pave way for the so many other things that they'll be seeing evolving in you as you go on and as the years go on. Then in addition to every other thing you said, because I really, really quite agree with everything you said, but one more thing I would say, and I experienced that too, is making sure that you don't get distracted. Like you're not measuring your success by what someone else is doing. So I had that issue along the line of stepping out, and I was looking at what people were doing, being inspired, being motivated, fine, but also being distracted, because I felt if Mrs. A is doing it like this and she only just started yesterday, and I have not gotten anywhere yet, and I think I must have started even before her, or maybe we started about the same time, but I'm not seeing that kind of progress that I'm seeing in Mrs. A's work or in her own work with destiny or in destiny. So I think we should also be careful of distractions or comparisons that kind of distract us, and then like you also rightly said, being in association with people who inspire us and motivate us, we can also take it up a notch and say, get mentors, because there are people that have achieved these things that we have achieved. And, it's only wisdom for you to leverage on them instead of trying to make your own mistakes first and learning from them. Okay, so if you don't have mentors right now, it's not late at all. It's just one of the things you can do to help you navigate and to just, navigate this destiny walk. It's not easy. It's not, you already said that it's unique. It's a unique path you have to tread. It's another unique path that I have to tread. But somehow there are similarities in our paths. And so you being able to decipher whose path looks like your path, but still being focused and knowing exactly what God has called you to do will help a lot. Okay, so another thing I would say is also get busy. Get busy along the line of trying to come out and trying to just, express destiny or to fulfill destiny in our different paths. Try to get busy building capacity. So I know many women, many moms who, like you said, relent and say, I'm already a mother, I'm already a wife, and all that. Maybe some even have a 9 to 5, so they have income, but they kind of rest on all that and they say, okay, there's no other place I'm going. This is where I was meant to be, and I'm here already. So why bother myself any further? But I think there is something more, like you said, there is something more that we should aim for. And it has to, first of all, well up on our inside for us to know that, yes, I need to work at it. It might not be showing forth right now, might not be obvious to anyone and even yourself right now, but just know that that place that you're destined to go, that thing that you're destined to fulfill, you must build capacity for it. I mean, it's only wise for you to gather knowledge along the way so that when you get the exposure, when you get the opportunity, you can actually influence people in that path of destiny that God has chosen for you. So and there are so many things that we could say that could help you step out and just be that person that God has called you to be. There are people who are limited by so many things that you have overcome. So you're not even the least person that is thinking of fulfilling destiny. There are still so many people that are below you, if I may use that word, that are still trying to even find themselves. Okay, so stepping out it's not supposed to stop you. If you are already known that this is the path I should tread, then I think you should just take that next step and do all it takes and step out in grand style, fulfilling destiny for God, for you, for humanity, and just for that overall well done, that good and faithful servant in the end. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me, Anwuli. This has been an interesting discussion, and I know that wherever this video goes, I trust God that it's going to help other women come out more, and it's going to, inspire them to come out of their shell, step out in grand style, fulfill destiny. This is the era where women, moms, ladies, the female gender in general is is getting more aware of the potentials that they have. Gone are the days when we were relegated to the back seat and we're told nothing good could come out of the women folk. This is the era where God has chosen and destined for the women to shine forth. And I trust God that via this and every other thing that you're doing on your blog and just in your own destiny path and on my own destiny path too would help other moms and other women step out in grand style and fulfill destiny. Thank you so much once again for joining me. As
Thank
always,
you.
just know that it's not the last time you'll be on my channel again. It's not the last time
Okay.
that we'll be seeing
Always,
you.
always happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm grateful. Appreciate you. Take good
Thank you
care of
too for
yourself.
having me. And you too.
And I'll also be leaving your links so that anyone who is interested can reach you, read your articles, reach out to you and all that. And I'm sure you'll be willing to help any of them. Thank you so much once again
Thank
and
you too
see
for
you next
having
time.
me. Bye.
Bye.